So he said, okay, we'll buy your shares back, $10,000. No, I'm not going to do it. So Kenny Lehman, who's one of the shareholders and our leading salesman, is in the meeting. And Kenny is really getting mad. And he starts to swear at this guy. He calls him all sorts of names and says, you're stabbing us in the back, you son of a bitch. And he reaches around a lawyer and knocks him over, ass over tea kettle, grabs a hold of this guy, this little shareholder bastard, and says, I'm going to throw you. If you don't stop it, I'm going to throw you out the window. Chuck Brown's wife, I forget, she was a member of city council. She was one of our shareholders. She yells, Kenny, you can't do that. We're on the 3rd floor. Okay, says Kenny, we'll move to the 8th. At that point, the guy says, okay, I'll sell my shares. And we finally got rid of him. So there's my little story about Kenny, a great guy, wonderful guy. Joe Poirier, remember him? Mo Racine, Mo the Toe. I played a lot of handball with Mo. He was a great athlete. Jay Roberts, Ronnie Stewart. Remember him? Set all sorts of rushing records. What a guy. Whit Tucker, one of the fastest. Unbelievable. Streak of lightning. Vic Washington. Now, I've got to tell you, there's no question that Whit Tucker was very, very fast. Oh, man. Those passes from Russ Jackson to Tucker, there was something to see. But the fastest man I have ever seen, maybe the fastest man on the planet other than Superman, was a little guy named Margene Atkins. Now, this is the spring or maybe early summer of 1969. And I am pitching for the CFRA Happy Blunderers, okay? And we're playing at Lansdowne Park against a team of Ottawa Rough Riders. We're playing fastball, softball. And one of the players is this guy that the Rough Riders have just signed, just a little guy called Margene Atkins. No idea who he is. So I pitch to Margene. He gets a little dribbler out to the right of me. I run, I charge off the mound, grab a hold of the ball, and wheel to throw it to first. Margene Atkins nowhere to be found. Where the hell is he? I heard he yelled behind me. He's in third base. Honest to God, that's a true story. By the time I pick up the ball and wheel to throw it to first, Margene Atkins is in third base. Fastest man I ever saw. As a matter of fact, I think after he left the Rough Riders, I think he went on and played in the NFL. He was so fast. It was unbelievable. Now, the other story, and then I'll get into more serious stuff if you want. It was about this time that CFRA decided that they were going to try and attract more female viewers, listeners. So we started what we called the Kitchen Quarterback Club with Lois Jackson, Russ Jackson's wife, as the guest and me as the host. I think we had the show on Saturday afternoon. Some of you may recall it. So Lois, wonderful, wonderful lady, unbelievable. She studies everything. She grills Russ to get every single play, that she knows all of the answers. She knows all of the formations, all of the buzzwords. She's got them all. She studies and studies and studies. So the first day, we're there. We punch on the mic. It's the Kitchen Quarterback Club. This is to acquaint women, hopefully, to get them to know the game a little bit better. So Lois is there with all of the answers. First call comes in. It's a lovely little lady, I think. She said, Lois, I don't know anything about football, and I really don't care to, but I would like to know, why does Russ always pull up his socks when he's playing? So Lois really doesn't know how to respond, but she mumbles something about, well, I'm always telling Russ to pull up his socks. But anyway, but we went on. I think we had 2 seasons with the Kitchen Quarterback Club. It was a lot of fun, and I think some of the women enjoyed it. I hope so. Now, I must tell you that I had a wonderful conversation last night with a woman who celebrates her 100th birthday in about 2 weeks' time. I think she told me December 15th, although I'm not exactly sure. Wasn't paying close enough attention. Norma Fisher, one of Kempville's best known and best loved citizens, is not only 99, she's able to live on her own, and she does so very comfortably. Drives all over the place, although she tells me that she stopped driving in Ottawa because there are just too many crazy drivers here, which I agreed with her totally. She says she still enjoys life, but very much misses George, her husband, who died about 6 years ago. George Fisher, of course, was the late Hal Anthony's next door neighbor and great friend. And George was also the brother of a man that we came to call Mr. Canada, John Fisher, who led us so well during the centennial year. He was one of the broadcasters with CBC, but he was involved in many other centennial projects. John Fisher. Some of you will remember. We called him Mr. Canada. That was George's brother. At any rate, I have another little story here. George, and some of you may have heard this story before, but it's so good, I got to tell it again. George Fisher and Hal Anthony not only were great friends and next door neighbors, but they were great gardeners as well. And they shared a garden, okay, between the two properties. And it led to one of the funniest stories ever recorded in Kempville, or any other place for that matter. One summer, Hal, Anthony, and George Fisher are plagued by a groundhog who keeps eating all of their vegetables, cleaning up the garden. And George and Hal, they try everything. They're very humane guys. They try a trap, a safe trap, humane trap. If someone tells them that if you put down some sort of smelly stuff, it'll stop them. They tried fences, nothing. They built a fence, groundhog just burrowed under the fence. Nothing worked. So each morning, they were dismayed by the sight of all this ravaged vegetables, cabbages strewn all over, and lettuce, etc., etc. So they devised a sinister plan. I'm not sure if they had been watching the Caddyshack, the movie. Remember the movie Caddyshack? It may have been inspired by that. But anyway, George and Hal come up with this idea, harebrained as it may sound, and it was, that they would blast the groundhog out, okay? So they went around and they found the groundhogs usually have 3 or 4 escape holes. They'll have the major hole, but then they'll have escape holes. So if they're trapped, they can't be trapped. So George and Hal go around, they find all the escape holes and they plug them all up. And then they get a can of gasoline and they pour it down the hole. Hal drops a match and runs. Ooh. The resulting blast can be heard at the Brigadoon restaurant in nearby Oxford Mills. It blows George's garage a good 2 feet in the air, honest to God, straight up, down off the foundation, where it still rests, by the way, slightly askew. So I have they had forgotten to look inside George's garage, and there Mr. Groundhog, really smart groundhog, had built an escape hole right in the middle of George's garage, which now sits askew off the foundation. So the next big mistake Hal makes is he tells this story on the air. Well, the calls pour in. You should be arrested. You and that Mr. Fisher should be arrested. Trying to do that. That's terrible. That's a terrible thing. So I have no idea if they got rid of the groundhog. But I tell you, Hal never told the story again. So Norma and I, God bless her, yeah, just sounded great. We got talking a little bit about this last night, the great blast the garage up in the air story, and we got a chuckle all over again. So if you live in Kempville or the area, you probably know Norma Fisher. Be sure to wish her happy birthday, 100. And Rick and Debbie just down the street a little bit at Graham's Bakery, how about cooking up a special cake there for Norma Fisher? God bless her. Great. So I just enjoy these people, have so many memories, so much wisdom. And not only, she's got a great sense of humor. Imagine after all of these years, still able to chuckle over the fact that they almost destroyed their garage. And by the way, I went out and had a look, and the garage is still there, slightly askew off the foundation where the blast set it. I've got to put in a good word here for one of my sponsors, Shields.ca. Now, if you are in the market for any kind of appliance, major appliance, dishwasher, refrigerator, freezer, beautiful freezers, even small appliances of any kind, they've got them in stock at Shields in Pakenham. You don't have to go to Pakenham. They've got a wonderful website that shows all of the appliances they have in stock, gives the prices, and very importantly, shows those good many of them now still have government rebates. And Shields still provides those government rebates, which many of the big box stores are not doing anymore. So in all probability, not only will you get almost immediate delivery and much better service at Shields, you may get a better price. Shields.ca. It's SCHEELS.ca. Local, in the same family since 1946. If you can, folks, if you're in the market, at least check out the website. Let's deal where we can. Let's deal local, okay? On another issue here. By the way, any emails or anything? Nobody wants to comment about. Okay,
just a couple of comments regarding your football stories. Craig says Tony Gabriel was pretty quick. Sold him shoes at our Saint Laurent store for years.
That's right. Tony was didn't play in the 1969. Some of you may remember what year that he came to Ottawa, but he was the TD passes. I believe were Margene Atkins, I think Whit Tucker, and I think Ronnie Stewart scored at least one. I could be wrong on that. But some great players, many of whom stayed in Ottawa and became integral members of our community. So, do you any more comments on that?
Jim says, love your stories, Lowell. Love them. Howard says Tony Gabriel came to Ottawa in 1977.
Okay, yeah, much later.
Yeah. My boyhood hero.
Tony Gabriel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The best thing that Hamilton ever gave us. Well, Soupy Campbell. Soupy Campbell came from Hamilton as well. Soupy was a great guy. I remember there was a reunion, an alumni reunion that I went to of the Rough Riders. And I'm standing there talking with a couple of the other guys, Joe Poirier, I think. And all at once, some big guy grabs a hold of me. And at this point, I'm weighing, well over 200 pounds, lifts me up and puts me down. Soupy Campbell knocked the breath right out of me. I said, Soupy. Anyway, he was just a great guy. On a different issue here. And if you've got any more, just interrupt me at any moment, okay?
I will, yeah.
I don't know, what part of the city do you live in, John?
I'm Hunt Club area.
Do you see empty or near empty buses passing by all the time?
The articulated bus goes up my street every day with maybe one person on it.
This is nuts. I see these empty buses or near empty buses, and usually you're right, they're articulated, patrolling Canada and Stittsville streets days and nights. Very clearly, not as many people are using public transit as they used to. And this is borne out by, we all know that ridership numbers are way down. Which begs the question, has the time come to push the pause button on light rail expansion? There's growing evidence that never again will we have as many people working in downtown Ottawa as we have now. Now, there are some who think that we'll go back to normal. Everybody will go back to work once we do get the vaccine and we can get back to normal living. I don't think so. I think that there are going to be very large numbers of people, and there's a number of people who agree with me on this, who continue to work from home. We have found that it works very well. In most cases, it works very well. And there are many advantages, not just for the employee. There's no question the employee doesn't have to get up in the morning and, he can perhaps or she can do their work in their pajamas. They don't have to buy lunch. They don't have to take the trip in, public transit or drive, parking, all the expenses. It's very, very convenient. Now, some people, they like to go in, but there's no question about it. But as far as convenient and saving money, working from home is much better. But there are also many advantages for the employer who, if not nearly as many people need to work from downtown, they don't need the big offices, which are very expensive. The insurance rates are probably go down. They don't need the parking spaces, perhaps, all sorts of advantages for both the employer and the employee. Thus, I believe that we have discovered that most people can work very well, very efficiently, very effectively from home. Thus, I believe, and as our technical ability improves as it is, I think more and more people will stay working from home. My daughter, for example, works for Bell Canada, has worked for many, many years. She's working very, very comfortably and very happily from Wakefield. Bell has provided her with a special computer program, does all of her work there and works fine. doesn't need to be at work. My son, the same thing. He doesn't have to drive into downtown Ottawa either. He does all of his work. He enjoys it more. There's more peace and quiet. A lot of his work is very detailed, and the office environment sometimes is a distraction. So now he can do it at home. They'll never go back to. And I'm sure that if my daughter and my son are able to work from home and will continue to do so, that many thousands of others will. The point I'm trying to make here, I think it's time that our planners, the people that we pay a lot of money to plan this, and I'll go to John in just a moment. I think it's time that they sat down and began to analyze this. Are we going to need as much public transit? Are the routes going to be different? Are the requirements different? Do we really need more light rail? Where do we need it? Do we need these articulated buses? Can we get by with smaller buses? Can we save some money this way? And, we're very lucky in Ottawa because the major employer here is the federal government. I think that our city officials should be sitting down with the federal government and trying to find out from the federal government how many people they think are actually ever going to go back to work. I don't think any more planning should be done until at the very least, we discover from the federal government what are their plans. How many people do they think are going to go back and work in downtown? How can you plan and agree to spend billions of dollars if you don't know how many people are going to be using the system? The planning up until now has always been that there's going to be an incremental increase, that every year ridership is going to increase. I don't think we're going to see that, at least not in the lifetime of most of us. Any thoughts on that? Our phone, by the way, is nothing wrong with phoning, 613-413-2217. 613-413-2217. You got some texts there, some emails, John?
It's hard to argue with that idea, by the way. I mean, you and I, look what we're doing. You're in CARP. I'm in Hunt Club. Yep. We're connected. Yep. We're doing a radio show and a TV show all in one. So
precisely from our home.
Yeah. So Tina Marie says the 25 from Blair to Millennium is an articulated bus that never has more than 5 people at any given time. She adds that she'll be working from home until at least May 1st and is saving $120 a month for the bus pass and easily $5 a day on coffees, not including lunches. She works for Bell as well. They've provided her with a computer.
Yes.
So by working from home, she's saving on average $250 a month, she says.
And I point out that in all probability, Bell will be saving money as well. They won't need all of the office space, which is very, very expensive. But there are many other advantages as well in not having to provide accommodation in downtown Ottawa, believe me. I don't understand why we continue to run these big articulated buses today. Very clearly, somebody's not thinking about this. Either that or we don't have single buses enough. I don't know. But at the very least, you would think, look, if these buses are running empty most of the time, surely we've got to re-examine this, change the routes, slow down the number of, I don't know. But it makes no sense. And I'll bet you that any number of people will have the same observation. Nobody is riding in these buses. There are some routes, no doubt, that are full. Fine, keep them. But I can't, as I repeat, we are so lucky in Ottawa that we have the one major employer. If we can find out what the federal government thinks their requirement is going to be for downtown workers, I think this should be play a major role in advanced planning. I don't think we should be spending any more money until we find out some of this information. A total re-examination. Anybody, any thoughts on that? Number to call is 613-413-2217. And John, how do they text?
Same number. Same number. You can text 613-413-2217. The email address is lowell@blasttheradio.com. Craig chimes in, by the way, says the governor of the Bank of Canada mentioned to us a number of weeks ago his building on Spark Street normally has over 13,000 people in it daily. With COVID, it's 30. However, he did say the federal government will have to have their employees return to the office or the shit will hit the fan.
Well, some people are going to return to the office, no question about it. But I don't think they'll be anywhere near the same numbers. But at the very, I'll leave it now. But at the very least, I don't understand how we can plan and agree to spend billions of dollars when we really don't know what tomorrow brings. And there's a major change here, folks. We better stay on top of it. And as I say, the empty buses making the rounds now are just one indication of that. Centennial Glass. I can't forget them. I just love these people. They have come to my rescue on 2 occasions. Very serious emergencies here on both of them on a Sunday, by the way. This big chunk of ice comes charging through the patio window at about 20 below zero. The Centennial Glass is here within the hour with plywood. But that's just the way they are. It's a family-run business in this city for many, many years. They do a lot of commercial work. Yes, they do. But I'm going to tell you, they love, and I've said this before, they love working for individual homes, whether it's glass furniture, and they will custom design glass furniture. Be glad to do it and do a beautiful job. Glass furniture, mirror, beautiful frame mirrors, and of course, windows and doors. CentennialGlass.ca. John, more emails or texts here?
Just a couple of people weighing in on Facebook. I do have a text, by the way. Let's go to the text. This is interesting, and it's a complete change of subject. But looking to get a signed copy of Lowell's latest book for my parents for Christmas. How do I go about it? Any favorite stories in the new book?
Yes, there are several famous stories, which I have not told because I'm saving it for people who buy the books. Some great stories there. One story in particular about this little, well, let me just say, very, very chubby, stocky Russian lady chasing me across a plaza in downtown St. Petersburg. Yes, well, there's some very interesting stories, and it's very easy. And by the way, Spruce Ridge Publishing has suspended the shipping charge, so there's no shipping. Just go to www.lgreen.ca. There you'll see it right there. And any inscriptions, I'm signing dozens every day. Glad to do it, but we are running short. So if you want it as a Christmas present, free delivery, I'll sign anything you want, Merry Christmas, etc. www.lgreen.ca. It's really easy, folks, and there's absolutely no risk. Thank you. More texts coming in.
Paul says, had to take the bus one day last week when my car was in the shop. I saw no more than 5 to 10 people on the buses. Leanne, you may be familiar with Leanne. She says, no accidents, less late, less sickness, safe money, no rent.
Is that my daughter? Is that my daughter,
Leanne? Yes.
Okay, dear.
Lynn says, all these people working from home means that there'll be less traffic on the highways, less congestion, and less accidents. And Deborah says, on routes used sparsely, a teletranspo model should and could be used.
Good idea. Good idea. But we've got to get a better handle on exactly, what is going to be downtown traffic in the years to come. Before I go, I have to get in one comment here about our friend Adam Skelly. Okay, he's the guy that's been arrested in Etobicoke. As I said on Friday, very hard not to feel sympathy for this guy. One man against the machine, etc., etc. But as much as I hate to say it, we have no choice. If we allowed Adam Skelly to leave his barbecue restaurant open, this would be a betrayal for those thousands of other restaurants across the province that have obeyed the law, spent all kinds of money trying to follow the rules and regulations. If suddenly after all of this, and some of them have gone bankrupt, gone into their personal savings, if after all of this one guy decides that he's not going to pay attention, not going to follow the rules, and he's allowed to do so, this would be an abject betrayal of all of those people out there. Not only that, but it would send the signal that, hey, if Adam Skelly can get away with it, so can we. It would be wide open. I know that there are a good many of you out there who really question whether we need lockdowns. I agree with you. I really have to question it, and I have myself. But it comes down to this, okay? Literally, and I mean literally, millions of doctors and nurses, scientists, health experts around the world, in every country in the world, are saying the same thing. We've got to keep this thing battened down, or it will get out of control and overwhelm our healthcare systems. It has happened in another of countries, apparently happening right now in Turkey. In New York, they now have to haul bodies off in freezers, for God's sake, to a temporary morgue. So it can overwhelm. I know that there's a lot of skepticism. I understand that. But I have to tell you this, folks, okay? If I have to decide who to believe, who to follow, 1 million doctors and nurses. I mean, I trust the doctor to work on my heart. Some of you trust the doctors to replace your heart, to treat you for God knows what diseases. You trust the doctor for that. But we've got, as I say, 1 million, several million probably, doctors, nurses, health authorities, scientists around the world saying, we've got to keep a handle on this. We can't let it get out of control. So if I have to choose between who I'm going to believe, all of the doctors, the nurses, scientists, or Randy Hillier, as well as Randy, as well intentioned as Randy may be. I mean, I know who I have to believe. Do you believe a million doctors, or do you believe Randy Hillier? It's up to you. Thank you all. We're right out of time. Yes, we are out of time. I can hardly. The light is so bad in here. Thank you, John. Thank you very much, and thank you all of you who text and wrote. Love to get a few phone calls sometime. But what the hell? I don't think anybody knows how to use the phone anymore.
No, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you.
I'll read it to you.
We'll be back.
Thanks for tuning in to the new No Holds Barred show on BlastTheRadio.com. And get the show on demand with the Lowell Green podcast. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and more.